All right, one more minute and we will get started. Kind of strange being on here all by myself. Let's see. And a reminder, if you have your phones on, you might want to turn the volume off so that, especially if you're on the Zoom call, so that we don't hear it. Thank you.
Is this actually going to be live?
Yes.
Like the YouTube thing?
There's just a few second delay on it, but.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to just double check over on our YouTube and see if we have any of our parents there. Okay, we have a couple watching. All right, so I'm going to turn that back down and get my Zoom camera back up. Okay. All right. All right, is everybody ready? Okay, here we go. All right, so I would like to welcome everyone to our 2020 mock trial, Commonwealth versus Zilius. I want to welcome all the students, your parents, your friends and family, and a special thank you to all of our volunteers, the jury members, and our judge, Mr. Jumis. We're so thankful to have all of you join us today. This is much different than what we've ever done before, and I'm thankful for the technology that we can do it from our homes and not have to cancel it. So praise the Lord for that. I just wanted to remind everyone, I just reminded all of our students, but we will be having our cameras off and our audio off when we are not speaking, just to keep the screen clear so it's easier for us to see. The students will be sharing exhibits, so they'll be sharing their screens. So just watch and we'll do the best we can to pray that it all goes very smoothly. Also, make sure and turn your ringers off if you're actually on the Zoom call so that we don't hear any of that in the background. And parents, I wanted to remind you all to take some photos of your students. This is one of our big photo opportunities for our class for the year, and sadly we're not all together. So I would really appreciate it if you would take some pictures of your students dressed up at home, maybe even on the monitor, to just as a great memory of what this year was like for all of us as students and as parents, and just how we accomplished this school year. Okay, and so with that being said, I just wanted to share with everyone and remind some of us that the overarching mission of Classical Conversations is to know God and to make Him known. So in mock trial, our students have the amazing opportunity to practice their classical skills that we're learning by learning the details and learning the details of our trial, of our case, asking lots and lots of good questions about the material, then trying to connect all of those details to put it into a strategy, to come up with a persuasive argument, to use their reasoning skills to make it a good argument, and then they get to present it without a script. So they also get like an inside view of the judicial system. This year has been a little different than others, but we still get to see that inside look, and we get to see how poor choices can lead to consequences. And a lot of times those consequences will restrict our freedoms. Each of the students will be earning points for their team today. The points are going to be earned by how well they handle their arguments and how convincingly they play their witnesses. The verdict is not the most important thing here. So I would like to address the students just for a moment. Each of you have worked so hard individually and as a team. You have grown in your skills of asking good questions and of digging deeply for the answers. To the degree that you have sought the Lord's wisdom and strength through this process, you have also grown in knowing him, and you're just better equipped from these skills of making him known. One team will win and one team will lose. That's just the nature of a competition, but the points are not a measure of your success. If you have learned anything, and if you have honored God in this process, then you have succeeded. Mock trial is not the end goal. We have learned so much, and it's a step towards our greater goal of deepening your thinking skills and your walk with the Lord. So I, along with everyone here, your friends, your family, we congratulate you. Because before the first word is even spoken or the first argument is even presented, you have done well, and I am so proud of you. So let's pray, and then we will get started. So Father, Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given us. Father, I thank you for the privilege of leading this class during this time. God, I thank you for each of the students and the hard work that they have poured into this. I thank you for all of the volunteers that are here, and I thank you for just them freely giving their time to us. Father, we pray that your peace would surpass everything today. Your peace that surpasses our understanding, God, we pray that it would just flow freely in each one of these students and in this place. Father, we thank you for the technology that you've given us to do this, and we pray, Lord, that your hand would be upon it and that everything would run smoothly, Father. We give this time to you. We give this trial to you, Father, and I ask that you would take all that they have learned in this process and that you would use it for your glory and for your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. And so with that, we're going to call the bailiff up to begin our trial. Thank you.
All rise. The Superior Court of Tarrant County is now in session. The Honorable Judge Jumis presiding. God save the state and his honorable court.
Thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Good morning, everyone. No, it's on. Okay. If the attorneys can sign into Zoom, please, and unmute and get their video on. Okay. I see 2 attorneys so far. Yes, and when everybody is online that's an attorney, if you could introduce yourself and tell which side you're on, that'll help me to keep track of the scoring and input, please.
I am Christian and I'm on prosecution.
I'll go next. I'm Jacob Dobbins and I'm on defense.
I'm Abby Montgomery. I'm Abby Montgomery and I'm on defense.
Okay, so Jacob and Abby are on defense. Christian is on prosecution. Is there another prosecutor?
I am Ella Stone, and this is my co-counsel, Aubrey Key. We are both prosecution attorneys.
Okay, so Ella.
I'm Luke McQuay. Sorry.
If I can just have a second. Ella, you said your name and you said a second name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Aubrey McKee. She is another prosecution attorney.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then there was another defense attorney coming in.
I'm Luke McQuay and I'm on the defense.
Okay. All right. So, and only because I kept track of first names, I have Christian, Ella, and Aubrey as prosecuting attorneys, and Jacob, Abby, and Luke as defense attorneys. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So, good morning. It's a little unorthodox to do a trial by video, but actually in my practice, I am starting to do a lot of proceedings on video too. So this is an adjustment that is like real life. And so we're here to hear the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Tatum Zilius, an allegation of reckless homicide. And are both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And are there any matters to take up before we read the indictment, which I'm going to do, and get a plea entered in this case?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Great. So the by the way, have the case materials presented an indictment in this case? Is there an indictment?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Is Mr. Zilius here? Or Miss Zilius?
Yes, Your Honor. He is
Yes,
here.
Your Honor.
Okay. Can Mr. Zilius come into the Zoom and identify himself?
I am Jackson Gannott, and I'm playing as Tatum Zilius in this trial.
Good morning, Mr. Zilius. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you the same Tatum Zilius that has been previously arrested and accused of reckless homicide?
Yes.
Okay. And I am now going to read the indictment and ask for an enter of a plea in this case. Are you prepared, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. The indictment says that in the state of Pennsylvania, on or about August 31st of 2012, that Tatum Zilius did then and there recklessly cause the deaths of Artie Dent and Grace Hopper by consciously disregarding the risk of an accident in a construction site. To that, you may enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Mr. Zilius, what is your plea?
I plead not guilty.
Thank you. At this point, by the way, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for being here. At this point, the way the trial will proceed is that both sides get an opportunity to make an opening statement. Then the state, because it has the burden of proof, has an opportunity to present any witnesses it feels like will make its case. Then the defense will have an opportunity to either make an opening statement at that point or present witnesses or both. And then after both sides have presented their witnesses, there will be closing arguments, and then you will be instructed to go deliberate on a verdict. In this case, the guilt-innocence verdict will be rendered by me, but you need to listen nonetheless to everything that is going on in the trial. And so I ask the state, do you wish to make an opening statement at this point in time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, our honorable judge and the jury, my fellow attorneys Aubrey McKee, Ella Stone, and myself, Christian Lee, are here to compel you to understand why Tatum Zilius is guilty of third-degree murder. Tatum Zilius was a site manager for Franklin's Trench. He was sent there to build an apartment complex, and he chose a crane, who they called the Fight and Fill, a crane operator whose name was Micah Stratton, a crew, and the tools he needed for the job. After weeks of working, he was getting stressed about his deadline, and he needed to put the roofing panels on, which were 300,000 pounds over the crane's maximum threshold. He needed to get approval from the state to do the overweight lift, so he sent a letter to the state asking. After days of not hearing from them, a news article came up about a hurricane coming, and he saw that the winds would be 3 miles per hour over the do not operate warning, and he didn't care if he didn't hear from the state anymore. He chose to put Micah Stratton in it, and he said, lift them up. Grace Hopper, his flagger, noticed a missing tool waving the red flag, symboling do not operate. After that, after he saw the red flag, he shoved the green flag in her hand and said, no, they are going to be lifted up. The first lift went smoothly until he almost crashed into an apartment building, killing hundreds. The second lift went up, and a huge gust of wind caught it, crashing down, killing Grace Hopper and Artie Dent. I urge the court to find Tatum Zilius guilty because he knew it was too much overweight, he knew it was too windy, and yet he still went for it, and it ended up killing 2 innocent lives.
Thank you, Christian. At this point, the defense has the opportunity to make an opening statement, or it could choose not to make an opening statement, or it could reserve making an opening statement till you begin your case in chief after the state rests its case. What does the defense wish to do at this point?
defense would like to go ahead and make the opening statement.
Very well, you may proceed.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Abby Montgomery, and this is my co-counsel, Jacob Dobbins and Luke LaQuay. I would like to take you back to your childhood. I imagine most of you grew up with two parents, a steady education, and a safe, loving home, as I myself have. And if you didn't, then perhaps your experience will aid you in understanding the defendant's situation, because he can't recall any of these simple memories we take for granted every day. Before he was even born, Zilius' father deserted his innocent mother to deliver and raise a child on her own with enough love for both of them, and that she made sure of. The two wandered the United States for years, hoping that someday they would find a permanent home and lasting job opportunity they had dreamed for. Unfortunately, they never found it. If you were this child, now grown, what would you do? Would you let this type of painful, heart-rending lifestyle you had lived and breathed alongside so many Americans continue? Or would you try to put an end to it? My client chose the latter. On January 1st, 2010, Mr. Zilius formed Project Z with enthusiasm and hope for the future. His plans were to build an apartment complex for the poor and outcast, people who had experienced hardships just like he had. The complex was meant to cost little to its residents, and yet made with the highest quality materials. In charge of the site, he placed Emerson Turnkin, a highly recommended manager. Tatum had hoped Turnkin would do the necessary tasks and be timely and efficient. However, when Zilius visited the site, Turnkin was completely off schedule, and the site was practically standing still. Thus, Zilius had to take over the site due to Turnkin's inability to adjust to the deadline, which had been set by the city. Turnkin continued working on the project, though not as head manager. On August 31st, a tragic accident occurred. The roof panels were scheduled to be lifted onto construction that day, but a tropical storm swept in the morning of. The storm was far away, and Zilius' main staff all agreed to continue, except for Turnkin, but he never said anything. Yet, the winds were worse than expected, and on the second lift, the crane crashed, resulting in two unfortunate fatalities, Artie Dent and Grace Hopper. First, we will bring the defendant to the stand, and he will tell you his side of the story. He will reveal to you what his childhood was like and how he worked his way up diligently to go to college and graduate as his class salutatorian despite his poverty. He will show you that he never had any hateful feelings towards the deceased in this case, and that his main purpose in forming Project Z was to help those in need whom he related so well to. Our next witness will be Micah Estraden, the expert operator who was controlling inside the crane during the crash. He will show you that the crane was capable of lifting those panels, though they were over the crane's max, and that he fully supported and even influenced Zilius in his decision to continue with the lifts, despite circumstances. He will show you that Zilius had no malice towards Grace Hopper and Artie Dent, the deceased in this case, and how the mishaps which occurred on site throughout the project were not uncommon and threatening when compared to other similar successful construction sites. He will also reveal that Grace Hopper, the OCIS representative, approved of continuing with the lifts. Our third and last witness will be Reese Stedner, a reporter who investigated the worksite. She will show you that Zilius' lifts were endorsed by the city and, though unofficially, were approved to continue. She will show you that the conditions on the site and reveal that it is highly possible, if not definite, that the crane was sabotaged right before the lifts and thus lessened its functioning abilities, revealing the crane collapse, not Zilius' blame. Prosecution will not be able to find any proof of malice throughout this case. We will show you that the decisions Zilius made were sound and, though perhaps unconventional at times, had logical reasoning behind them. Prosecution will not find any hatred towards the squatters like Artie Dent who lived on the site, apart from wild speculation. We ask the court to find this man innocent of murder in the third degree, and ask you to observe this man for malice, recklessness, and cruelty of heart. And remember why he started Project Z in the first place. We assure you, you will find no substantial evidence for these charges. Thank you.
Very well. The state may call its first witness.
So, thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call London Packard to the stand. Please state your name for the court.
Lennon Packard.
Tell me about your background.
I was born homeless and moved around a lot. I stumbled across the trench in 1975. I've been living there ever since.
Do you know the defendant, Tatum Zilius?
Yes. Tatum and his mother were living with us for a couple of months.
And were you aware that Tatum Zilius bought Franklin's Trench?
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
To be honest, I was devastated. It was my home for 27 years. When I told the others the news who lived there, they took it really hard also. Where else could we all live?
Did you have any hope of getting back your home?
At first, I didn't think so until I met a reporter, Reese Dentner. She promised she could stop the construction if I told her what I knew.
Did she find a way to help you?
No, I thought she got me a sit down with Tatum Zillas, but only the site manager, Emerson Turkin, came to meet me.
How did the meeting go with Turnkin?
Terrible. I suggested they move the project a couple blocks away so that they could have their building and we could have our home. But Turnkin just got annoyed.
Then what happened?
Hardy had been eavesdropping during the whole conversation. He got angry and started swinging a shovel aimlessly and cursing, but thankfully no one got hurt.
Who was Artie?
Hardy didn't. He was a strange one. He thought the whole world was out to get him. He actually had medication for that, but he thought it was a part of a plot against him, so he never took it.
Since your meeting didn't go well, what did you do instead?
I wanted to do a protest, but the reporter lady told me it wouldn't help. She said I would just get arrested.
Did Artie have anything to say?
He talked about killing himself on the site to make it extra dramatic. That was crazy, but so was Artie.
Are there any more questions?
I think she's frozen, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, then if we can just give a moment to see if that can be resolved.
I don't think they can hear us. Mute. Maybe, I guess.
Okay. Hello, Aubrey, are you back with us?
Sorry about that. Our internet timed out, so.
No problem, please. Do you have more questions, Aubrey?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please continue.
All right. Did Artie say anything to you after your meeting?
He talked about killing himself on the site to make it extra dramatic. That was crazy, but so was Artie.
Did Artie do that?
No, he did some graffiti and moved some tools around the site. He called it Operation Turtle. He just wanted to slow down the operation.
Mitchell, you have this memorized. Don't read.
Did you ever see Tatum again?
One day in January, Tatum visited the site, and things really changed after that.
How so?
They added a second shift. They started having accidents all the time, but even worse ones on the second shift.
Can you tell me about any of these accidents?
For example, I saw someone's foot get run over by a forklift, and I also saw a person fall off a ladder. She was carried off on a stretcher and she wasn't moving. And later, I saw Tatum order someone up that same ladder.
What were you thinking by this point?
I'd pretty much given up, but then I found a letter in the trash on August 24th, 2012. It was from the city inspector and it said the lift was not approved yet. That gave me a little hope. I thought it would buy us some more time.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to enter in Exhibit 10, License and Inspection, Letter of Receipt. May I share my screen with the witness for identification?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can the honor and London Packard see the screen?
Yes.
I can see it. Yes, I just instruct you not to let the jury see it until there's been a ruling on this exhibit, please.
Oh, sorry.
No, I understand with the technology. I'm just, in real life, that's how that would go.
Okay. Mr. Packard, will you identify this exhibit?
Yes, that is the letter I found in the trash.
Thank you. My colleague will be referring to this letter that Mr. Packard found later in the trial.
Does the defense have any objection to this exhibit?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, and forgive me, Aubrey, what exhibit number is this exhibit?
Exhibit 10.
Okay. Exhibit 10 is admitted and the jury can see it at this point in time.
Did the letter you find buy you more time?
Nope. They started making preparations anyways.
Tell me about the day they started the lift.
The weather was awful that day. It was rainy and the wind was howling. I turned to celebrate with Artie, but I could not find him anywhere.
What happened next?
They continued working even in the storm. At one point, I saw someone like a government agent come out of the manager's office. She raised the red flag. Then I saw Tatum run towards her, yelling at her. He grabbed the green flag and raised it instead.
And then what?
A huge wind came and the crane began to fall. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw Artie Dent staring at the crane right before it crushed him.
No further questions, Your Honor. My witness is ready for cross.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Defense, you may proceed with cross-examination.
Zilius never showed any violence towards the squatters, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Dent was very passionate about keeping the trench in squatters' possession, correct?
Correct.
Did he not mention to you several times he was considering killing himself on the site?
Correct.
Your Honor, the defense would like to enter in the following exhibit marked exhibit number 9 into evidence. May I share my screen with the witness for identification?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Mr. Packard, could you please identify this document? Mr. Packard?
I don't know.
Could you read the title of the document, please?
Abby, we cannot testify to contents of the document until it has been admitted into evidence. You may develop more questions as to whether the witness does in fact recognize this document.
Okay. Okay, so should we now ask the other side for objections? Am I to do that?
So at this point in time, you have a witness who has said that he does not recognize the document. I expect that there is some reason you believe he does. I would advise you to ask questions along those lines, and then you may offer it into evidence.
All right, thank you. Let me see. I would like to go back, Your Honor, and not try to enter this into exhibit, please.
That's fine. Are you telling me it's withdrawn at this point in time?
Okay, thank you. We have withdrawn.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Many believed Artie to be too mentally unstable to disrupt the crane, but Mr. Dent had been successfully sabotaging Mr. Zilius's site throughout the entirety of construction, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Dent was spotted by several witnesses around the crane on August 31st, right before the lifts took place, correct?
Correct.
So it would not be out of the question to suggest that Mr. Dent had somehow sabotaged the crane's working ability?
Correct.
Your Honor, the defense would like to refer to exhibit number 10. On August 31st, you found this letter from the city in the trash on the site, correct?
Correct.
The lists were not specifically denied permission in this letter, correct?
Correct.
Many took that letter as a sign that Zilius was disobeying the city's orders to discontinue with the lifts. But that letter was just a request for a few more formalities that were needed before the lifts could be officially documented in the files, correct?
Correct.
There was nothing for Mr. Zilius to sign or agree to on that letter, correct?
Correct.
So there would be no reason for his throwing it away to be a sign of disregarding the city's authority, correct?
Correct.
And also, Mr. Packard, throughout all this raging against Zilius for stealing your home, did Zilius ever once remove the squatter from the site?
No.
So Zilius let you and the squatters continue on the site even though you were there illegally and sabotaging his site?
Correct.
Zilius had every right to have you and Mr. Dent arrested, correct?
Correct.
And finally, Mr. Packard, when Zilius put up a fence between you and the site, he did so to protect the squatters because they were walking under dangerous, hazardous, life-threatening equipment in their protest, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. The witness may step down. Does the prosecution have another witness?
You're on mute.
I'm not. Oh,
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to call Emerson Turnkin to the stand.
okay, very well. And if I could ask the prosecution a question real quick. I don't know if the format of this trial calls for allowing redirect and recross examination. Has that been a part of the case materials?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so, all right, I just want to make sure I didn't cost anybody anything that they prepared. Okay, we're ready to proceed with Emerson Turnkin.
What is your occupation?
I built my reputation the way I built a house, brick by brick. Sorry. I am a construction manager. I have been one for 30 years now.
And could you tell me about your reputation in the field?
I built my reputation the way I built a house, brick by brick. I didn't always get things done the fastest, but my record was pristine.
Do you know the defendant, and is the defendant Tatum Zilius here today?
Yes.
Tell me what you know about Tatum Zilius.
I knew Zilius because of his record in construction industry. It was a joke that he was going for the Guinness record for most citations without actually getting shut down. For him, speed meant profit, and more time was worth paying extra citations.
Have you at any time seen the defendant knowingly violating construction code rules?
Yes.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to end the following exhibit, marked Exhibit 6 into evidence. May I share the screen with the witness for?
You may, very well.
Ms. Turnkin, could you please identify this document?
I can't see the top part.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can the judge and can the witness see the exhibit?
Yes.
I can see the exhibit. I don't see any sort of title on it, but I see it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let me return it over here. Ms.
I can now.
Okay. Ms. Turnkin, could you please identify this document?
Final OCIS report, August 31st, 2012, collapse of crane, fighting fill.
Thank you. Ms. Turnkin, could you please read for me the code violations 2 to 7?
And pardon me,
2 to 5.
Ella, it is not proper for the witness to testify to a document that has not been admitted into evidence. Are you offering it for admission at this point in time?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Does the defense have any objection to this exhibit?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. With no objection, exhibit, and I believe it's number 6. Is that correct, Ella?
Yes, Your Honor.
Exhibit 6 is now admitted and you can refer to it.
Okay. Ms. Turnkin, could you please read for me code violations 2 to 5?
Yes. North Scaffold 4 was not properly secured. No records were kept of morning inspections on either of the cranes on site. No records were kept of evening inspections for the north side crane. Records of evening inspection for the building crane fighting field do not show the expected level of precision for complete inspections.
Now could you read for me number 13?
Gap in fence on south end of work area.
Thank you. Could you please read for me the blue highlighted segments?
Yes. Per interviews with Emerson Turkin and other management did not emphasize safety culture or on going beyond the requirements of the code to make work sites safe. Per interviews with Tatum Zilius, Emerson Turkin, and other management rushed work in order to meet economic or political objectives. Management failed to carefully monitor the mental fatigue of work equipment. Management failed to check weather report throughout second lift. The lift was performed outside the manufacturer tolerance for wind gauge. The lift was likely performed outside the manufacturer tolerance for lift weight.
Thank you. Did Tatum Zilius approach you to work for him?
Yes, he asked me to work on Franklin's Trench as construction manager.
What was your response when Tatum Zilius approached you about working on the trench in 2011?
I was hesitant at first because of the fast means good policy, which concerned me. Although he said that that was in the past, and he promised me complete site control. I agreed to work for him on those terms and accepted the offer.
How were things on site?
It was the safest site in the city. I followed the code to the last rule.
Were there any safety issues on the construction site?
Yes, there was already a group of homeless people who had been living on Franklin's Trench prior to construction. They believed that since they were there first, that they had a right to be there. I thought they were harmless.
Were they harmless?
Well, they were harmless, but a nuisance. They were upset and started vandalizing the site, which made it very hard for us to stay on task because we had to stop whatever we were doing to do safety checks. It was all harmless stuff, but it slowed us down a lot.
What happened on January 10th, 2012?
Tatum came by the site and was furious that we hadn't had more completed. I tried to tell him about the homeless people, but he brushed it off as nothing. He went on a rant and said something along the lines of, "I don't care if people get hurt. We can pay for that. We can pay for anything but time. This project is getting done."
What did Mr. Zilius do after that?
He took control of the site and made some major changes.
What were the changes?
He cut 40 minutes off of our beginning sweeps and cut our briefings to 10 minutes. He even offered an extra hour of overtime in each day. Those who didn't take it were eventually fired.
Then what did he do?
He started a second shift without even asking me. He promised me complete site control, and now I was running a 16-hour site alone without even a say in the matter. Accidents increased, but Tatum didn't care.
What happened on April of 20?
The state-of-the-art roofing panels came in. The problem was the crane's maximum engineering limit was 2,750 tons. These panels were 2,900 tons.
Did you think it was safe?
Honestly, I'd lost control of the situation, so I told Micah to sort it out with Tatum. Tatum said to proceed as planned and that he was aware of the risk. I knew it was a mistake. These panels were heavier than expected and had wind turbines built into them, making them designed to catch wind.
What happened on May of 2012?
I saw some homeless people around the crane. I scared them off, but it raised a concern. They could be plotting something. I told Tatum my thoughts, but he ignored me.
Was something concerning you at that time?
Yes, after the crane lift was scheduled, Hurricane Isaac hit the Gulf Coast.
What were Tatum's thoughts on this?
He was determined to get the panels in place before the rains hit. The night before the big lifts, I tried talking to him about the huge risk we were about to take, but he was having none of it.
What happened on the day of the lift?
When they started lifting, a huge gust of wind immediately caught onto the roofing panels and nearly plowed into an apartment building.
What did you do when it time for the second?
Me, Grace, and Tatum were in the manager's office. I was very concerned because the winds were getting stronger. Grace Hopper, a government agent for OCIS, was concerned. I told both of them that I was very worried about the conditions, and I told Tatum that the load was beyond the limits of the crane and the consequences were dangerous.
What is OCIS?
OCIS is Construction Safety Organization.
How did Tatum respond to that?
Tatum convinced Grace to ask Micah his thoughts. Micah was convinced that he could pull it off. Grace told me that she couldn't stop the lift without Quinn Baxter's approval, a government official for OCIS, and that Quinn valued my opinions.
What did you say to that?
I knew if I attempted to stop the lift that I would be fired on the spot, so I said nothing.
Then what happened?
Another homeless person appeared, so they red flagged the lift while a quick sweep was done. I saw Tatum come from his office and confront Grace. They seemed to be fighting over the red flag.
What are the flags for?
There is a red flag and a green flag. They are used to communicate to the crane operator when lifting. The red flag is to tell them to stop, and the green flag is to tell them to go.
Who raised the green flag?
I couldn't exactly tell because all of the rain and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was Tatum who raised the flag.
What happened next?
The strongest gust of wind all day blew through the site and caught onto the roofing panels. The crane collapsed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Does the defense wish to ask questions?
Yes, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Turkin. Would you please repeat your name and job on the site?
I'm Emerson Turkin. I'm a construction manager.
All right. Is it true that you have experience or reasonable experience on the field?
Yes.
Did you start work on the site around September 2011?
Yes.
Did any squatters live near the site?
Yes.
Is it true that you erected a fence to keep out the squatters?
Yes.
Did the squatters still get through?
Yes.
Continue on the subject of safety. Did you have any safety sweeps?
Yes.
In the beginning, how long were they?
They were 2 hours long.
All right, the defense has no further questions for this witness.
Okay. Thank you very much. What says the state?
The prosecution has no other witnesses, Your Honor.
Does the prosecution rest its case in chief?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution rests its case.
Okay, thank you very much. Defense, you may proceed with your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Tatum Zilius to the stand.
Very well.
Mr. Zillis, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in this trial should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very well, you may proceed. Luke.
Mr. Zilius, what is your significance to this case?
I was a site supervisor of Franklin's Trench and the man in charge at the time of Phil's fall.
What deals were made to begin this project?
I bought the site and I was paid if I finished before October 31st, 2012.
I'd like to admit into evidence the document marked exhibit number 4.
You may show it to the witness to see if he recognizes it, and then we can evaluate if it's admissible.
Can you see the document?
No.
Sorry. I have gone too far. Here.
So if you'll just get it to the right spot and ask the witness if he recognizes it.
Do you recognize this this document?
Yes.
Can you identify it for us?
This is the Memorandum of Understanding. It's just a letter between the City of Philadelphia and Project Z.
Would you read, please, what I am highlighting here? Just a second.
Yes.
I will instruct the witness not to read from a document that's not in evidence at this point. Are you seeking its admission, Luke?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Does the prosecution have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. The witness may read from the document at this point. Exhibit number 4 is admitted.
Thank you.
The lead environmental certification incentives. If the Franklin's Trench development shall be deemed a lead certified building, documenting its low environmental impact, Project Z shall receive an additional incentive payment not to exceed $25 per family per month to operate the Franklin's Trench development. Or, if the Franklin's Trench development shall be deemed a LEED Gold certified building, documenting its very low environmental impact, Project Z shall receive an additional incentive payment not to exceed $25 or $50 per family per month to operate the Franklin's Trench development. Or, if the Franklin's Trench development shall be deemed a LEED Platinum certified building, documenting its extremely low environmental impact, Project Z shall receive an additional incentive payment not to exceed $100 per family per month to operate the Franklin's Trench development.
Thank you very much. Are these usual costs per family per month for rental?
No, these are extremely low prices.
Thank you. Why did you begin Project Z?
Because I wanted to help the community and I didn't want people to go through what I went through as a child.
What was your childhood like?
I was homeless and I actually lived in the trench with my mother.
What was your education?
I was my high school's salutatorian, and then I dropped out of college to fix a house, and then kept fixing houses until I went back to college to get my master's degree in 2009 in business.
Why did you hire Turnkin as your site manager?
Because she could do the job well without endangering any lives.
Did you stay within the project's budget?
No, I paid out of pocket for some things.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Thank you, Luke. Does the prosecution have any questions for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
You were the developer of Project Z, correct?
Yes.
According to your witness statement, you used to build McMansions, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to admit Tatum Zilius' witness statement into evidence. May I share the screen with the defendant for identification?
You may.
Thank you. Can the judge and can the see the exhibit?
I can see it.
I can see it.
Okay. Mr. Zilius, could you please read?
Oh.
You're gonna have to identify it first.
Okay. Ella, are you frozen out? Okay. It appears the prosecution's frozen out. We'll wait a moment until they can reconnect. I will instruct the witness not to read from the exhibit. It has not been admitted into evidence at this point.
It's funny with it.
Hello. Hello. I'm sorry. Our internet timed out again, but we will resume.
Not at all, Ella. Please proceed. Just to let you know, the exhibit has not been entered into evidence at this point in time. Okay. And specifically, the witness needs to be able to
Identify the document.
validate that it is in fact his statement, and then there needs to be opportunity for objections before it actually can be admitted and read from.
Sorry. Tatum Zilius, could you please identify this document?
Yes, this is my witness statement.
Okay, thank you. Are you seeking to admit this exhibit, Ella?
Yes, I am seeking to admit this exhibit.
Okay. Does the prosecution have any objection? Or, excuse me, does the defense have any objection to this exhibit? My fault.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, exhibit number 4 is admitted. You can now refer to the document at this point, Ella.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tatum Zilius, could you please read for me note 7 at this part of the page, which defines a McMansion?
Objection, Your Honor. Only the witness's character for reputation, for truthfulness is at stake here.
While it may or may not be relevant, and that objection would be a proper relevance objection, this exhibit has been admitted into evidence and the witness will be allowed to read from this statement. Overruled.
If I'm
McMansions, a large, showy home constructed with poor materials and skill. Speed of construction is valued over quality.
This is how you used to build?
Yes.
Thank you. When you found the trench, some people were already living there, correct?
Yes.
And you were aware of this?
Correct.
Yet you decided to build there anyway, correct?
Correct.
Were you very set on the October deadline?
Correct.
When you returned to the site in January of 2012, did you lose your temper at Turnkin?
Can you restate the question?
When you returned to the site in January of 2012, did you lose your temper at Turnkin?
Yes.
Did Turnkin provide you an explanation as to why the work wasn't being completed?
Yes.
What was the explanation?
Can you restate the question, please?
What was her explanation?
Well, I'm pretty sure that it was because the squatters were getting in the way.
Did that explanation satisfy you?
No.
In your witness statement, you said that Turnkin claims you said you could pay for people, correct?
Correct.
You claimed that was twisting your words.
Yes, I did.
What did you actually mean?
Well, I just meant that if people got hurt, we could pay them so that they could keep their families with food.
So you're saying that you're okay with your workers being injured as long as the project was finished on time?
Correct.
You cut more than half the time off sweeps and briefings. Is that true?
Yes.
Did accidents increase after that?
Slightly.
OCIS lists multiple code violations and citations that you committed, correct?
Correct.
In April, you received news that the roofing panels were done but weighed 2,900 tons, which was over the maximum engineering limit, correct?
Correct.
Because the lift was over the weight capacity, you had to write a letter to the city to continue, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever hear back from them?
No.
So you didn't continue?
I continued.
Why did you continue if you didn't receive from the government?
I was listening to Micah Stratton because he said that it would be all right. So.
You had 3 shifts going on your work site, correct?
Correct.
The amount of work going on take a toll on the workers?
Correct.
There was also a hurricane brewing in the Gulf of Mexico, correct?
Correct.
You knew, correct?
Can you restate the question?
You knew about the hurricane, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew it would be dangerous to your workers and your work?
Correct.
You said if you missed the deadline, you'd be ruined, correct?
Correct.
When you had the team meeting on August 30th, Micah, Grace, and Emerson were all concerned about the conditions, correct?
Correct.
Yet you still decided to proceed, correct?
Correct.
So you must have heard back from the city about permission to lift by then?
Correct.
So you received permission from the city?
No.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to refer to Exhibit 10, which is the letter that London Packard had found discarded in the trash can.
Okay, yes, since this has already been admitted, you may refer to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you read for me the yellow highlighted section? Oh, sorry. Can the judge and can the witness see the document?
I can see the document.
Yes.
And can Tatum read the yellow highlighted segment for me?
Emily Robling, City of Philadelphia. Is that L and I?
Mm-hmm.
1401 John F. Kennedy Boulevard, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19102.
And could you read?
August 24th, 2012.
Were you one of the people addressed in this letter?
Yes.
Could you read for me the green highlighted segments?
Application 9234-3, 22803. Request to permit crane lift above engineering tolerant. I can't read that.
Sorry, let me zoom in.
Thank you.
There you go.
Tolerances. The City of Philadelphia Department of Licenses and Inspections is in receipt of your application for permission to conduct a construction lift above engineering limits. Although the application was well documented, additional information is required before we can reach a final agency determination of your request. A final determination of your request will be made within 30 days of your revised submission.
Could you read for me the line before that?
Please submit the information with 14 calendar days for this request. A failure to respond to this letter could be deemed a basis for denial of your request.
Thank you. You claim you did not know where this was found.
Correct.
So your testimony under oath is that you did not know about the letter from the city addressed to you in reference to the permission you desperately needed to finish the job and not have your project ruined? Thank you. What happened when Micah began to lift?
It was very windy and the crane was very unstable.
Didn't he almost plow the roofing panel into an apartment building?
Correct.
Why didn't you stop the lift when you saw him nearly plow the roofing panel into an apartment building?
Because we were close to the top.
Why did Grace Hopper want to talk at 2 p.m.?
Can you restate the question? You froze.
Why did I froze?
Just a little bit.
Why did Grace Hopper want to talk to Micah at 2 p.m.?
They were concerned about the weather conditions and if it would be safe to lift.
Did she say anything about a revised weather report?
Yes.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to refer to Exhibit 6. This is the OCIS report. It was introduced earlier.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Witness, and can the judge see the exhibit?
I can see the exhibit.
I can see it.
Okay. Tatum Zilius, could you please read for me the pink highlighted segment?
Wind was initially predicted to be a 5 to 17 mile per hour sustained, gusting to 22 miles per hour. However, at noon, the prediction was revised and winds were expected to be 10 to 20 miles per hour with wind gusts to 23 to 26 miles per hour. According to the interviews with Tatum Zilius, he was unaware of this revision.
Your Honor, may I refer to Tatum Zilius' witness statement?
Yes.
Thank you. Let me see again. Tatum Zilius, could you please read for me line 83, 84 through 83 through 85?
It was almost 2 p.m. before they were ready for the second lift. Hang on one second. Then, to my horror, Grace demanded to talk with Micah about it again. She said something about the revised weather report, but that report was a couple hours old and it didn't seem like a big deal to me. Just the wind was expected to come. Just the wind we expected coming a little earlier.
In your interviews, you said you were unaware of the weather revision, while in your statement, you said you were aware of it. Do you agree that those two things you said are in conflict?
Yes.
So, Mr. Zilius, where did you lie? Your testimony or in your interviews?
My interview.
Micah was having trouble keeping the panel in position, correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you stop him then?
Because I wanted to get the lift finished.
Why did Grace raise the red flag after that?
Because she thought it was dangerous.
Was the squatter around again?
Yes.
Did they find any evidence of tampering?
No.
You really wanted Micah to keep on going despite the conditions, correct?
Correct.
Then after that, you shoved the green flag at Grace, correct?
Correct.
How did you get the green flag if you shoved it at her?
I grabbed it.
Then the crane collapsed as a gust of wind caught the panel, correct?
Correct.
And 2 people are dead because of that?
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. The defense may call its next witness.
The defense would like to call Micah Stratton to the stand.
Very well.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in this trial should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, would you please state your name?
Micah Stratton,
What was your role in the site, Mr. Stratton?
crane operator.
Could you tell us where you attended college?
Drexel University,
And what was your degree in?
mechanical engineering.
All right. How many years have you been working in construction?
More than 30 years.
Since you've spent a long time in construction, how often did small accidents happen at construction sites?
Kind of often. Often.
How often are they life-threatening?
Not. It's very rare that they're life-threatening.
All right. How long have you been working with Fight and Fill exclusively?
18 years.
How much have you lifted with Phil before?
We have lifted up to 3,000 tons.
All right. When was the crane last inspected?
Last April, sooner than required legally.
Moving on to the day of the incident. As you know the crane well, how did you advise Grace to tell Zilius how to proceed?
I told Grace over the phone that both the wind and the weight was within the crane's 100% tolerance. It was within the crane's tolerance.
How did you feel when the crane broke suddenly?
I was shocked. The crane, what?
Continue.
The crane would. Ask a question, please.
How did you feel when the crane broke suddenly?
I was shocked.
Did you do anything to the crane before?
No.
You didn't check at all?
I did go through my routine and everything was fine.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. We have no further questions.
Thank you. Prosecution may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stratton, how long have you been working in the construction industry?
30 years.
And what was the top priority around the job around August?
To get the roof panels up.
And Tatum Zilius cut the safety sweeps, correct?
Correct.
And did accidents increase after the safety sweeps were cut?
Objection.
Yes.
This has already been asked and answered.
Overruled at this point.
And can you answer the question, Mr. Stratton?
Can you restate the question?
Did accidents increase after Tatum cut the safety sweeps?
Yes.
And how much were the panels overweight?
300,000 pounds.
300,000 pounds overweight. And how many panels were there?
Only 2.
Only 2. And what did Tatum Zilius do about the overweight lift?
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing? He did nothing about the overweight lift.
I assured him I could do it.
Okay. And in the first lift, you almost crashed into an apartment building, correct? Killing hundreds.
Correct.
And what did Tatum Zilius do about this?
Nothing.
So you almost killed hundreds in an apartment building, and it was 300,000 pounds over the crane's maximum do not operate warning. And you proceeded to do nothing? And he proceeded to do nothing?
I assured him I could lift.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to enter exhibit marked as number 2, the ELS report for Fight and Fill. Marked as exhibit 1, the ELS report for Fight and Fill. May I share my screen for identification?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can the judge and the witness see the document?
I can see it.
Can you please identify the document, Mr. Stratton?
It's fine. Phil. Weight tolerant. It's his engineering tolerance.
I would like to I would like to enter this for our
Are you asking to enter it into evidence?
yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Does the defense have any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. With no objection, exhibit number 1 is admitted. You may refer to the document, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, can you please read me that in the circle? Can you please read me the circle?
All right, can you get, all right. It was its lift capacity.
Everything.
Oh, okay. 2,400 tons is safe to operate. 2,400 tons through 2,600 tons is to proceed with caution. 2,600 tons and 2,750 tons is you're supposed to proceed with extreme caution, and 2,750 tons is the maximum threshold.
And can you please read what is right next to the maximum threshold?
Do not operate.
And so he told you to continue to operate even when it was 300,000 pounds over the do not operate warning. Is that correct?
Yes, I've done many lifts over this though, and they were successful.
And now when you were doing the second lift, in your witness statement, it says you did feel the wind growing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did Tatum Zilius do about the wind growing?
Nothing.
So he did nothing about the wind growing. He did nothing about the way overweight lift, and he did nothing about almost killing hundreds in an apartment building. Is that correct?
No, that's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. The defense may call its next witness.
The defense would like to bring Reese Dittner to the stand.
Very well.
The host has somehow stopped my video. I don't know. Should I just leave it like that? Or... Oh, never mind. It's been fixed. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the jury, the court and the jury should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please state your name and occupation.
My name is Reese Dittner and I'm a reporter.
What was your career like before you came to Pennsylvania?
After I received my master's degree in journalism, I was hired by a paper in London, but I left after I was accused of a scandal. I restarted my career in New York working for the TNZ, the Cracker.com, and the Sludge Report, but after a misunderstanding of the state's rules, I left and found my way to Philly.
All those injuries mentioned on this site by other witnesses, were they all accidents?
No, I saw people fake accidents just to get workers' comp.
Did Zilius pay these workers compensation even though they were obviously faked injuries?
Yes, he did.
It was stated in the OCAS report as a violation that there was a hole inside the fence and Zilius was blamed for that. Who made that hole?
Artie Dent.
Your Honor, the defense would like to enter into evidence exhibit number 8. May I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. May this document be entered into evidence?
Does the prosecution have any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, with no objection, and forgive me, Abby, what exhibit number is this again?
This is exhibit number 8, Your Honor.
Exhibit 8 is admitted and you may refer to it.
Thank you. Ms. Dittner, could you please identify this document for the court?
Yes, that's my article.
Okay. In this article, Trench Warfare, you stated Zilius' Project Z made Section 8 look like the late 80s Phillies. What were you meaning in that statement?
Section 8 is a housing program for people who can't afford their own homes. and the Phillies were once a great baseball team, but they suddenly started losing games. It went from the best team in the states to the worst. Zalius made Section 8 look like that team.
Defense would like to enter in, excuse me. Your Honor, the defense would like to enter in the following exhibit marked number 9 into evidence. May I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Your Honor, may this document be entered into evidence?
Does the prosecution have any objection to Exhibit 9?
No, Your Honor.
With no objection, Exhibit 9 is entered into evidence. You may proceed, Abby.
Thank you. Ms. Dittner, could you please identify this document for the court?
Yes, it's Artie Dent's manifesto.
Could you please read the first part of this document?
Yes. No longer will the satellites shine their bright signals down upon our beaten brows. No longer will the arms of the massive alien stretch down to the bottom of the trench. This trench is strong line dug deep in the sand is where I will take my final stand. The power of the wrench. The power of people so downtrodden that there is nowhere to go but up. This wrench in the works will allow me to rage against the alien machine. The answer is simple. A trenchcoat martyr, blood that will forever stain this strained project, a spot that can never be washed out, a mark on what will always be home to the trenchers of Franklin.
Thank you. So Artie left you with this note titled The Power of the Wrench. If you don't mind, I'll reread just 2 sentences from that. This wrench in the works will allow me to rage against the alien machine. And then last bullet point, a trenchcoat martyr, blood that will forever stain this strange project. Could you tell the jury about Artie and the last time that you saw him?
Artie was one of the trenchers who lived on the site. The last time I saw him was around noon on the day of the lift, which was August 31st, 2012. He was right next to the crane in his trench coat.
Okay. In your work trench warfare, you stated you went to the city hall. Could you tell the court why you went there and what you discovered?
I went there because I heard that the city had asked Zalius for more information on the site. I thought that maybe this would be what would prevent Zalius from continuing with the lifts. However, when I got there, I found out that the city officials, along with the mayors and spokesmen, were actually really excited about the project and had decided to approve the lifts. The letter that was sent to Zalius was just asking for a little bit more information.
Okay. What was your overall impression of Mr. Zalius throughout your researching for trench warfare?
Zalius may have made some shaky decisions, but he had good intentions and didn't have any malice like what the charges say. Zalius is not a murderer.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Does the prosecution have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. All right. Ms. Dittner, did you come to Franklin's Trench to write about an article about the site developer Tatum?
Yes.
And did you choose him because you received a tip that he had the worst safety record of any developer in the area?
Yes.
Yes. And from your research, did you conclude that after Mr. Zalius took over, accidents increased on the work site?
Yes.
And were most of these accidents real?
No.
Were a lot of them real?
No.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to refer to restate article.
I object that. That assumes facts that are not in evidence because though some were faked, it was testified that most were real.
Okay. And so can the proponent of the exhibit, or can you describe the exhibit more, not the contents of it, but what the exhibit is about, so I can rule on it?
Could you please give me a second?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. In the exhibit,
Well, and hold on real quick. The proponent of this exhibit is the prosecution. Is that correct?
yes, I'm objecting to what the witness said.
Oh, okay. And so please remind me, what was the question and answer that you were objecting to?
How most or a lot or all of the injuries were faked. I'm objecting to that.
Okay. Do you mean from several questions ago or a recent question?
It was a recent question.
Okay.
Just answered.
Okay. And because it's assuming a fact that is not in evidence is the basis of the objection?
Yes.
Okay. I will sustain that objection. Please proceed.
Okay. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to refer to Exhibit A, Reese Dittner's article, The Trench Warfare.
Okay.
May I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Will you, Ms. Dittner, will you please read me the highlighted paragraph?
Pardon me, Aubrey. Forgive me. Has this exhibit in fact been admitted already?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your
What
Honor.
exhibit number is it again?
8.
Okay. Please, you may proceed.
Do you mind if I find it on my paper because I can't read the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Then came Zelius. Zelius's history of cutting corners is well known throughout the construction industry. And with his back up against the wall, the time was no different. He blew off all the safety protocols and procedures, adding a second shift, and a few months later, he even a third shift. Under the breakneck pace, the site itself became an utter mess. Even the shiny window panes of Franklin's trenches fade, could not deflect the light from shining down and seeing what was really going on beneath the surface.
And will you go ahead and read me the next paragraph?
Mm-hmm. From a former worker on the site who wished to remain nameless for this article, but who was let go when she refused to work an extra hour that was offered to her, I learned that the driving force behind Zelius's cavalier attitude was a bonus that was offered by the city and HUD for getting the project done before October 31st, 2012. A friend at City Hall got me a copy of the contract, and clear as day, there it is. The worker also told me that this construction site is the most dangerous one she had ever worked on.
So your research revealed that the reason for the rush on the work site was because of the October bonus?
Yes.
And you mentioned that you interviewed a fired employee from Mr. Zelius's construction site, correct?
Yes.
And she told you she was just fired because she did not want to work the offered extra hour?
Yes.
Did the worker also tell you that Franklin's Trench was the most dangerous work site she has ever worked at?
Yes.
Now, will you please read me this whole paragraph?
Okay. Small wonder then that Franklin's Trench has had more reported injuries than any other construction site in Philadelphia over the past 50 years. According to the all the construction sites in the United States in 2011 were 5.6 injuries per 100 full-time construction workers. At Franklin's Trench, the ratio is an astonishing 15.7 injuries per 100, nearly 3 times the national average. And these are the people being trusted with lifting the largest roofing panel in the city's history, weighing millions of pounds each, into place the middle of the dense residential area, right over the trench's home.
Thank you. So, according to your research, what construction site has had the most injuries in Philadelphia in the last 50 years?
Zelius's.
And according to your research, what was injuries at Franklin's Trench?
15.7. Wait. Yeah, 50.7 injuries per 100.
And would you say that is a lot of accidents?
Yes.
In your witness statement, you said that you overheard Tatum Zilius griping at Emerson Turnkin, the site manager, because they could pay for anything but time, and how time was the only thing that mattered. Is that
Objection, Your
true?
Honor.
On what basis?
This is requiring a hearsay response and is not proper proof.
Okay. Before the witness answers, can you restate your question so I can evaluate hearsay, please?
I said in her witness statement, she overheard Tatum Zilius griping at Emerson Turnkin about how they could pay for anything but time, and how time was the only thing that mattered.
Okay. I will sustain the objection and instruct the witness not to answer that question.
On August 31st, during the first big lift, did they have trouble lowering the roofing panels? Am I frozen? No. Did she answer?
Can you restate your question, please, Aubrey?
On August 31st, 2012, during the first big lift, did they have trouble lowering the roofing panel?
Yes.
And did you hear the crane straining under the weight of the roofing panel?
No.
In your, okay, okay.
Objection. Objection to what the witness said. What happened? The answer was in fact not true according to your witness statement. So it was assuming in fact non-evidence.
Ella, that is not going to be a legal objection, and I had allowed an objection to your witness's own statement last time. This is a question that your side has propounded. You're stuck with the answer. If you want to challenge that answer with additional questions, you have that opportunity, but that objection will be overruled.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then the crane collapsed?
Yes.
And killing 2 people?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. What says the defense?
The defense, we rest our case.
Okay. Are both sides prepared for closing arguments?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And is the prosecution, was that Christian or was that Jacob?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Okay. So I think that Christian, you just said the prosecution is ready with their close. And a moment ago, Jacob, you said that the defense is ready with their close. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right. Because the state has the burden of proof in a trial, it has the right to both open and close its final argument. Does the state have an open close that it wishes to present at this time?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully I was clear. Let me restate what I said. Okay, in a criminal trial, the prosecution gets to make a first portion of a closing argument, and then the defense would be able to make their portion of the closing argument, and then the state would have the right to make a final portion of a closing argument. And I'm asking if the state wishes to make a first portion of their closing argument at this time, or does it wish to reserve until after the defense has concluded their closing argument?
I wish to reserve.
Okay, very well. The defense may make its closing argument at this point in time.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court that I will be making the closing remarks for the defense today. The defendant poured a lot of time and resources into this project, and yet he is being accused of murder. He only wanted to help his community, and this is how he is repaid. He did not have a wickedness of disposition, nor a hardness of heart, nor did he act with cruelty. He therefore did not act with malice, and his third-degree murder is constituted by any killing with malice that is not first or second-degree murder. He did not commit murder in the third degree. As we saw and heard today, The crane had lifted up to 3,000 tons before, so the weight of the panels was not what caused the fall. The crane had also been inspected in April, so any possible malfunction could not have been there until just prior to the accident. The trench was the defendant's property, and the squatters had no right to be there. Also, the defendant didn't want to endanger any lives, and did not act with malice. As was said by Dentner, Artie Dent was a rather crazy man, and in his manifesto, he said, "This wrench in the works will allow me to rage against the alien machine." Later in that same document, he also states, "A trench coat martyr, blood that will forever stain this strange project, a spot that can never be washed out, a mark on what will always be home to the trenchers of Franklin." From this, we can deduce that Artie was prepared to destroy the crane and, in doing so, commit suicide. Both Turnkin and Packard agreed that measures were taken to keep the squatters out. Turnkin also noted in their testimony that they originally had 2-hour-long safety sweeps every day. That's 25% of their original workday. You can't say they weren't safe. As we saw, Packard says they found a letter in the trash disapproving the lift, but Dentner, who investigated further by going to City Hall, found that the letter was just a request for more unnecessary paperwork. Also, Turnkin's only motive for testifying against Zilius is to take away the blame from themselves. We have seen that the defendant did not act with malice, as he was acting regarding his social duty, and he did not have a wickedness of disposition. We ask the court to acquit the defendant of charges of murder of the third degree.
Thank you very much, Luke. The state may make its final argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Babb, and I will be making the closing remarks in this case. We have proven today beyond the reasonable doubt that Tatum Zilius is guilty of third-degree murder. Pennsylvania Criminal Code defines third-degree murder as any killing with malice that is not the first or second-degree murder. In other words, third-degree murder requires no specific intent to kill. Commonwealth v. Cottom states that malice may be found where the defendant consciously disregards an extremely high risk and in the process causes serious bodily injury. Now the question is, did Tatum Zilius consciously disregard the risks involved? Yes, he disregarded all the injuries that occurred after he added a second, then third shift and cut safety sweeps. He disregarded the pouring rain and howling wind and continued with the lift. He disregarded the warning from Grace Hopper, who tried to stop the crane by raising the red flag. And every time he disregarded a risk, he showed that he cared more about money than human life. The site manager, Emerson Turnkin, testified that Mr. Zilius was obsessed with breaking rules and cutting corners to get a bonus for meeting a deadline. The final OCIS report has a list of multiple citations and code violations that he committed. And even in his own words, the defendant admitted that he valued the speed of construction over the quality of which something is built. And during the first lift, he had an opportunity to stop the lift. The roofing panel almost plowed through an apartment building, and instead of stopping it, Mr. Zilius told Mr. Stratton, the crane operator, to proceed with the lift, despite the repeated warnings and dangerous weather conditions. Tatum Zilius proved to us again that he valued money over human life. The prosecution has produced a letter from the city asking Zilius for further information before permitting the crane to proceed with the lift. However, he claims to have never received the letter. So if we take the defendant's word for it, then why would he proceed with the lift if he needed permission? Our two options are either he lied about it, or he did receive it and lied about it, or he never received it and blatantly disobeyed the rules by continuing with the lift without permission. The prosecution has shown that the defendant repeatedly ignored warnings and safety precautions. His own site manager, Emerson Turnkin, stated that she was afraid of getting fired if she disagreed with him. Now, what could have motivated Tatum Zilius to ignore all these warnings time and time again? It was none other than a bonus. Tatum Zilius did not want to just complete the public housing project. He wanted it fast. He proved to us once more that he valued money over human life. The final OCIS report quotes the defendant as saying he was unaware of the weather revision, which stated that the high winds were coming earlier and stronger than expected. But according to his own statement, Tatum Zilius admitted he was aware of the revision, but decided to disregard them. Now, there is conflicting evidence from both sides about who raised the green flag. However, both sides agree that the green flag was raised, and Tatum Zilius, the man in charge, wanted it that way. And in the defendant's witness statement, he says, "I shoved the green flag at Grace and she held it up reluctantly." How did Mr. Zilius obtain the green flag? This is unexplained, but it tells us that at one point he had the green flag. Now, if you asked the defendant right now if he wanted to kill those two people, of course he would say no. But the reason that Grace Hopper and Artie Dent are dead is because of this man. Tatum Zilius manifested an extreme indifference to human life, overlooked safety procedures, ignored weather reports, and disregarded the concerns from his employees because he cared more about money than human life. Now, I urge the court to find the defendant guilty of third-degree murder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I can have a few moments to consider my verdict, I will come back online in a few moments.
Court is now in recess.
All right, let's see. Okay, can everyone see me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. All right, so we're going to take, actually, I hope the judge is okay with this. If we take a 15-minute break, that way the jury can tally all of their scores also. So right now it's 11:35. So if we'll come back on at 11:50, we will announce all of the results. Judge Jumis, can you hear me, and is that okay with you?
Yes, that is more than okay. I can hear you and see you, so 50 minutes will be great. I'll try to have it done in 10 or 12 minutes to give you my scores if that's okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Do you want me just to announce in front of everyone?
If you don't mind announcing it, that would be awesome.
Great.
Is that okay? 11:50. Okay, thanks.
Question.
Yes.
Can we go to big breakout rooms? Possibly. Yes.